Hello, Awakened Creators. Amanda here. I am here to talk to you today about comparison and why I think comparing your art to anyone else, even yourself, is total bullshit. So if you feel like you need a reminder why not to compare yourself to other people as you are traveling along your creative journey, stay tuned to this video. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I am so glad that you have decided to do the inner work necessary to do the outer work you love. Welcome, and let's dive right in. Those of you who are aware know that I am in the process of moving my life overseas, which means that most of our physical possessions, including a lot of my art, is going to need to stay behind. And I am in the process of kind of sifting through my creative past. As you can see behind me, I have pretty much every painting that I have painted, save for two that are in progress, sitting across from me at my desk. The journey that I have gone on as a painter specifically is sort of cataloged behind me in this moment. And as I've been going through this process, and especially as I've been like sifting through boxes and finding stories that I've written or doodles on the side of homework assignments back from college, I really began noticing a journey that has taken place and that is currently still taking place. And the reason that I mention this and that I really wanted to come on camera and talk about this is because it's very easy on the creative journey to compare yourself and compare the quality of work that you are producing to other people, right? This is a no-brainer. Anyone who has ever pursued any kind of creative expression has at one point in time compared themselves to someone else. And it almost seems like normal to the point of, if you're not engaging in this very destructive behavior pattern, there's something wrong with you, or people assume you have a giant ego, if you're not, comparing yourself to everyone. However, the more and more that I travel down this path, and the more that I experience my own shadow and process my own shadow in terms of creative blockages that I have, the more that I learn and realize that no, these things truly can be overcome. And in fact, I argue should be overcome, and will offer you, should you take on the challenge to want to face this part of yourself, will offer you a layer of liberation and freedom like you've never known before. Okay? And the reason that this is coming up for me is because, like I said, I'm looking through my old works. I'm looking through the past me that has produced and created. And I'm recognizing, first of all, I'm recognizing patterns. I'm recognizing themes that appear to be very unique to me and my journey and my path to discovery as a creator. So the reason that that's important is because it really is proof and validation that like my unique perspective is my own. And this is a part that we lose when we start doing a lot of comparison of ourselves with other people. It comes from this place of assuming that there's a standard of quality or something somewhere in the art world, or, you know, whatever creative expression that you identify with, that there's some level of like goodness and badness. And while of course you could argue that, you know, your very first screenplay you wrote when you were 8 years old is not, you know, a Tarantino film, I would also argue that like no one is trying to make that comparison. That the 8-year-old Tarantino would even not necessarily be as good as his current self. And it isn't even necessary for those two individuals, those two versions of the same person, to be doing any point of comparing, because at every step along their journey, they were exactly where they needed to be, producing exactly the work that they needed to be producing at that time, at that point in their journey. Okay? So this is a really long-winded way of me saying that, like, we are wherever we are in our creative path for a reason. And for us to look in judgment at that point in time, or at that level of skill, or at, you know, that moment in our life when we were dealing with maybe something very specific and we were utilizing our creative outlet to express that, for us to look in judgment and say, oh, well, that's not good art, or that wasn't at the best I could do. It's like, of course not. Like, of course it's exactly what you were capable of producing at that very moment. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, to even bring judgment into the room, into the discussion, to me feels extremely disrespectful to yourself, first of all, and to the unfolding of the creative journey, because it's not a comparison game. It's not a comparison game even with yourself. You know, you'll hear some people say that, oh, the only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself or your past selves. I call bullshit on that too. You should never be in a state of comparison. To compare, to basically, when you compare, you are saying whatever it is right now is not as good as what was, or is better than what was, meaning now you're passing judgment on the past now. In terms of like a spiritual perspective, it's asinine. It's absolutely asinine, and it's completely pointless. It's completely pointless. First of all, that point in space and time no longer exists. That version of you no longer exists. And so again, to pass judgment on it seems, to me anyways, to be a complete waste of time. And to disregard the path that you have taken to get to this now that you are. So again, as I'm going through these old stories that I've written, or poems, or, you know, little doodles, they all reflect this like voice, this singular voice that only after you have accumulated so much of your own work that you can really look at it, that you hear that voice, you hear that singular voice starting to come through, that is all of you. It's all of you. It's the you that tried on someone else's writing style and maybe decided you didn't like it. It was the you that fell in love with the color red, clearly, in multiple paintings. It's the you that experimented with self-portrait for the first time. It's the you that was finding your way, that is still finding your way. And that you that past you is beautiful, is glorious, is everything you needed to be in that moment, at that point in space and time, in order for you to now be here. So again, to pass judgment, to compare yourself to another artist, or to compare your creative expression to someone else's creative expression, pointless. Completely and utterly pointless. And to compare yourself where you are now to a past version of you is to completely miss the point of the creative journey itself, which is a journey of self-discovery, a journey of spiritual awakening, a journey that is leading you back home to your true whole self. And that is why I am here to help remind you of these little things, to help remind you how this is supposed to be working, and that, you know, we as creatives have normalized very toxic behavior, and we're going to do something about that here at Awakened Creators, because there are some behaviors and some thought patterns that seem almost ingrained in creative beings that really truly have no business in our sphere of consciousness. They are there for us to recognize them, to transmute them into empowerment, and we're going to do exactly that. And this video is here to help you start with the number one culprit of comparison on the creative journey, because it is absolutely and positively completely ridiculous when you truly think about it. So let me ask you, how often do you find yourself comparing yourself to other creators, or do you practice comparing your past versions of self to where you are now, or vice versa? And if so, how is that serving you? How is that serving you? Take a really critical eye and look at that. How is comparison serving you? Because if comparison is only serving to make you feel bad about yourself, to give you a reason to give up, to justify playing small, then it isn't serving you. It's serving your ego, maybe, that wants to protect itself. It's serving perhaps someone else who you've given your power over to. But it's certainly not serving your soul, the pure being of light that lives within your consciousness, that's here, that is you truly, right? It's not serving the awakened creator within you. And therefore, it must be addressed. It must be transmuted. It must be transcended. And we will do that here. So stick around, share this video. I would like to also invite you to subscribe to this channel if you feel these videos would serve you well, if you feel called. And you can also find us jibber-jabbering over on Instagram at awaken.creators. And if you want to join the heart-to-heart email community, where I will send you a weekly email and we will just talk mano a mano, and you can even reply to me on there and we can chat, then go to weareawakenedcreators.com and join the email community from there. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being devoted to your heart, your art, and what makes you unique, because you are an awakened creator, and I love you very much. Namaste. If you enjoyed this video, you might also want to check out these.